Back in 2023, I made a video going over how much I've spent building this 80 series Land Cruiser, and I think it's about time for an update. But first, let's do a quick recap of the last video. I purchased the Land Cruiser for $5,000 and it needed a lot of work. I had to fix valve cover leaks, a main seal leak, distributor O-ring leak, replace all the belts, coolant bypass hoses, and then I ended up pulling the motor because of a timing chain issue. Since the motor was out, I tore it down, had machine work done, fixed a crack in the block, rebuilt it, did the wiring harness, got it running again, installed low range transfer case gears, upgraded all the suspension, the bushings, the brake lines, installed new wheels and tires, fixed the mirrors, installed a coolant gauge, replaced the water pump and the fan clutch, and spent $10,679.42, not including the cost of the Land Cruiser itself. So that was the quick recap. Check out the first video, which is linked in the description if you want the full rundown. And now let's hop into what I've done from then until now. So just like in the first video, I won't waste your time. The total spent now is $19,525. But if you do want to know how it was all spent, here we go. So after I lifted the Land Cruiser, it threw off all of the steering geometry, so I had to weld in these I'm Keith radius arm and panhard drop brackets. These push the radius arm mounting location down 2 inches and forward 1 inch for more tire clearance, and they fix up to 3.45 degrees of caster. The panhard brackets allow up to a 5-inch lift, and these were $210. Then I took it on a shakedown run and got way too close to smashing my rockers and decided rock sliders had to be the next mod. Now, I'll be honest, these were sponsored, but to be realistic, they would have cost $1,265. I'm including the cost here because most people aren't making videos reviewing products, and as such, they would have to pay for them. So these were a very, very easy install since they are bolt-on sliders, and one of my favorite mods I've done so far. Winter came along and I started doing more interior projects because it was freaking cold. The speakers were blown and the existing head unit was terrible. I upgraded to an Atoto Android unit and replaced all the speakers in the doors. The Land Cruiser has a tiny amount of space in the doors for speakers, so I actually ended up using Pioneer speakers instead of the Rockford Fosgates because they just were a little bit slimmer and allowed me to mount them in there. I'm not going for anything mind-blowing here, just decent audio that's acceptable. I had to customize the brackets to get everything to fit, as you can see in these clips, and there is a link in the description for the full video of the speaker and stereo install. These speakers were $155 in total, and the head unit was $200. Again, to be completely transparent with you guys, the head unit was sponsored. Next, it was time to add sound deadening, and I had no idea this video would explode the way that it did. I think it has 700,000 views today. Maybe I just need to buy cars and install sound deadening to help make the channel blow up and go viral. I don't know. Anyway, I removed all of the interior, cleaned everything, and then I went absolutely overkill and sound deadened everything in the cab, along with adding a second foam layer. This was $220 in total, and it definitely made a huge difference in road noise and comfort. I got the itch for more interior mods, so out came the grinder to cut out the tailgate inner skin and add a nice storage panel from Bulletproof Fabricating. These panels are CNC cut, made from 1/8 inch aluminum, and add a lot of storage to a space that is otherwise unused. Huge fan of solutions like this. This panel was sent to me, but would cost $340. If you're sitting there right now typing up a comment, well, must be nice, he's getting some parts for free. Maybe you should make a YouTube channel too, and maybe people will send you stuff to review. But all of these products, the storage panel, the radio, the sliders, these are all things I would have bought anyway. After the panel was done, I upgraded the seats, and I'm still on the fence about these, and I don't know if I like them or not. They're getting more comfortable as time goes on, but the headrest is a little too far back. It's really awkward, and the brackets didn't fit well at all. They had to be heavily modified, but Corbeau did revise them after seeing my video, so hopefully going forward everyone is getting brackets that fit. These seats were $1,037, And I am open to suggestions in the comments for other seats in the same price range or cheaper. Or Shillman can send me a pair if they want. I won't say no. It's crazy to see the move from my garage to the shop as it was being built. But in these clips, I had just moved into the shop. I didn't have power or lights or anything. In fact, I was running a 200-foot extension cord from my house just to power the shop. But anyway, I started tearing apart my axles in order to drop the thirds and install gears and lockers. And since the axles were torn apart, I did take the time to refresh everything too. I always had a whirring, squeaking noise in the front end. And I actually found out when I was tearing everything apart, it was the front pinion bearing that was seized. So it's a good thing I tore this down when I did. Take a note on how dirty everything is here and how clean it will all look later in this video. This kind of stuff is absolutely worth it, even though it's very dirty and it's kind of expensive work. I bought a knuckle service kit for $346, which included everything to rebuild the knuckles, Marlin Eco Seals for the axles, which were $24, and new knuckle studs, which were $71. There is no point in going this far and not rebuilding the knuckles since you're there anyway. I have several videos on this and everything is in the description of this video. Finally, it was time for the gears and lockers. I went with Nitro 488 gears and ARB air lockers front and rear. The reason I chose 488 is because the chances of me ripping this 1FZ back out and swapping it for something with more power is pretty high. So I'd rather have stronger 488 gears than 529s, even though I am running 38-inch tires. The install for these was pretty standard, but I did run into some issues with the bearings supplied by Nitro and decided to source OEM Toyota instead. Additionally, I scrapped their pinion seal and instead used a Marlin seal. This was expensive. The air lockers were $1,963. The gears were $1,171 and they took forever to get here. The pinion seals were $30 and the bearing was $62. I did all the work myself, but keep in mind if you paid a shop, this would be over $1,000 in labor easily, probably much more. When I was putting everything back together, I did install new tie rod ends, which were $115, had to replace one of my hubs for $149, and installed ARP hub studs, which were $84. I fell victim to the "since we're here already" trap and upgraded the rotors and brake pads as well to power stop for $163. I also replaced every single wheel stud with replacement OEM studs, and those were $31. In order to make the air lockers work, I needed to mount a compressor, so I built a compressor mount out of sheet metal. And honestly, it would have been cheaper to just buy an existing mount on the market, but I kind of wanted a little fabrication project. This cost me around $100. I wanted the compressor to be hidden under the passenger seat where the rear heater was, so this mount sits under there, provides air to both the front and rear locker through a manifold that passes through the floorboard where the old heater lines were, and it provides an air chuck under the passenger seat for whatever you might need an air source for. The compressor was $316. Everything is wired into an aux beam panel to make it cleaner, and any future accessories can be wired into this as well. The aux beam was sent to me, but it would cost $279. Max Speeding Rods sent out their new LED pod lights for me to test, and while I was at it, I also purchased rear tail lights, interior lights, corner lights, blinkers, and everything else to upgrade all the lighting on the cruiser. The pod lights would cost $229. The tail lights, interior lights, and everything else cost me $191. These lighting upgrades are something that really improved the quality of life with the truck, and I know some people don't like the taillights because they're too modern or whatever, but I think they really improved the appearance, so I'm going to keep them on there. And the very last couple of mods to get us up to date would be a solve function overhead mount for the aux beam panel, which in my opinion is the best place for a switch panel, a battery mount since I've never had one, and getting the AC working, which magically just worked by recharging the AC. Believe it or not, it actually worked. The solve function panel was $30, the battery mount was $25, and fixing the AC was only $40. Now, this does not account for random odds and ends, which probably cost hundreds of dollars, if not $1,000, but the grand total of everything that we just talked about is $19,525. Adding the cost of the Land Cruiser itself, $24,525. So the big question, was it worth it? I would say it depends on you. You have to know what you're getting into. A 30-year-old Land Cruiser is not and never will be a new car, so you can't expect that. You have to almost be wanting to get into the feeling of an older vehicle if you're going to restore something like this. And it pains me to say older because it's the 90s, but I was born in 1990. That was 35 years ago. Guys, at this point, we're just gonna have to admit that these are kind of older cars, you know? But in my opinion, since 90s Japanese cars are the best generation of all cars, and since the 80 series is such an iconic vehicle, I mean, yeah, to me, it was worth it. As far as a do-it-all adventure vehicle goes, there's nothing else I'd really rather build. So you just have to know if you're looking to do something similar, there's going to be a lot of work involved. It doesn't matter how perfect of a Land Cruiser that you find, they're all gonna have relatively high miles unless they've just been sitting in a barn or something and has 0 miles, and things are gonna have to be fixed. Even at this point, there are still lots of things that I need to fix. The paint is, all the clear coat's peeling, all of the rubber weather stripping is cracked, the sunroof doesn't seal. It has a random clunk from the front end, which I think is my drive shaft. I need to take it off and check the U-joints, or it could be something with the actual pinion angles due to lifting the Land Cruiser, which is my own doing. I need a winch because I have no recovery on this truck. I need to set up something with a rear bumper and spare tire, a sleeping setup and storage system in the back of it, and just go use it more. I do use it, but I just don't record it a lot. Maybe I need to be better about that for you guys. So I guess we're just gonna wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys want to see more of with this Land Cruiser. What kind of build videos you want to see, if you want to see more adventure videos, things like that. As always, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Later.